Hey there, this is Agent Alpha coming to you from ESO, the Elder Scrolls Online. Right now, my favorite game, and I figure I'd take a moment out to add to my video series. It's been kind of lazy, so let's get right into it. We're going to talk about something that everyone's been asking me to make a video on, so here we go. Crafting, and why it's such a big deal in the game, and how so many people get it wrong. Crafting covers a huge area of the game, with the game having its own merchant system and trading system and resource gathering. So the very first thing you want to know about crafting are the crafting boards. They're located in every major city has a crafting board. As you can see, there are jobs that are posted on there. You just pick a job and start crafting. Now the crafting board itself, the crafting writs as they're called, that's just one component of crafting. That is the lowest level of crafting. It's basically you're just grabbing a writ from a board and doing the job. And as you can see, once you grab the writs, you'll see them pop up with what the actual job is, the description, and you'll be off to get your work done. Some people craft every day. They do a job, and the benefit is that you're going to end up getting a little bit of cash and resources every time you do a crafting writ. So as you can see, you walk down to where these tables are located. Every major city has its own center for the mercantile side of the game, and you'll just go and meet the requirement of the actual job. In this particular case, I'm here to make a glyph, magical enchantment. I search through my components, and you'll gather these materials throughout the world. And this right here is really the general basics of crafting. Get a job, meet the requirement, create the process, and just like that, you'll see the job is complete. So once the job is complete, what's the next step? Well, as you can see, you could decide how many different jobs you'll pick up in a day. You have one for every crafting table, and once you've actually sorted through all the different jobs that you want to do, you move on to the next area, which is turning in the jobs and the benefits of turning in those jobs. Oh, before I talk about turning in the jobs, let me talk to you about refining. As you gather material around the world, you'll have to refine those materials so that you can use them in your crafting. And that's what this process is. You go to a crafting table, click on refinement, select the items, convert them all, and you'll see that you'll get a list of materials that you cover. Now the greatest thing about all the crafting in the game is as you refine materials, you'll end up with more materials than you'll ever need. So that's the greatest thing about this working economy, is that you'll produce more than you can use, and then you can sell off the excess for cash to other players. Or you can try to use it all if you want to yourself, but you'll be crafting all day long trying to do it that way. And as you can see, once you finish turning in the different, once you finish completing all your crafting, you then go down to the actual merchant area itself, where you turn in the writs. And what I do is I usually pop an experience scroll prior to turning in. That way I can maximize the amount of experience I get out of each of those jobs. Once you finish the actual job itself, you'll end up getting a coffer. Coffer has supplies and so on. So some of the things that you get are treasure maps. Once you complete the crafting, some jobs will give you a treasure map, and it takes you on to the next part, the resource gathering side of the crafting. Now all that is a lot. I know there's a lot to take in. That's just crafting basics. Gather material, refine them, build what's been required, grab a job off the board, meet those jobs, turn them in, wash, rinse, repeat. Do that every day. You'll earn resources, you'll earn gold. Sometimes you'll get these treasure maps that lead you to other materials, and then you just go out to adventure and discover where those materials are at. So these are like miniature adventures for crafters. You go out into these locations. They're usually in mild threat locations, and you do this day after day, just basically going into the locations, adventuring, and finding new materials to craft. So let me just fight my way through this guy real quick, creep up on him before he can get a shot on me. Yep, there he goes. Unleash the power of my ice, which many people don't like the fact that I use my ice powers all the time, but I absolutely love it. I can operate by myself for the most part, especially when I'm doing these minor crafting jobs. These threats out in the wilderness are not tough for me anymore. I reached a point in my combat where I could take on almost any kind of threat out here in the wilderness, especially when they're just out in random locations where the crafting materials are at. So at any rate, you push past this second boss real quick and make your way to where those crafting materials are at. While I'm talking about the crafting, the resource nodes, you see how they're highlighted? You'll see that some of these resources actually shine for me. So, and back to that, the treasure map itself, you'll know you're in the right area once you actually hit the treasure pop up. You'll see that the treasure map will then go away. The moment you activate the resource node that's identified by the treasure map is then used. So you just simply gather this stuff. But I was saying that the point of the fact that they're highlighted for me has everything to do with the skill that I've paid for. When you're in crafting, you want to invest in the skills that actually get your crafting done. If you're not going to be crafting, those are just points you don't ever have to spend. But if you're interested in crafting, you want to make sure you go and get certain skills. The one particular skill is the keen eye. The keen eye allows the crafting resources to shine for you. So that's something that you definitely want to invest in. Beyond that, so you got gathering resources, you got treasure maps. I'll show you another example of something that was found inside these resource crates. So you see the crates that you get from actually completing the job give you extra resources. Some of these resources are going to be extremely rare, gold quality resources. So you wonder how people get those things. They actually have the skill to refine the materials and do the crafting jobs to go get the resources that they need. So another thing that you get when you get to higher level skills, you'll actually have resources mailed to you. By paying for the skill, every 12 or 24 hours, depending on your level of skill, you'll get resources mailed to your character. They'll sit in your mail for about 30 days. If you don't play that often, if you play every day, then you'll max out on the number of resources you can actually get. If you let it sit in your mail, it will disappear after about 30 days. So you'll never have, if you're going for months, you'll never have like a year supply of materials just wait for you. It doesn't work that way. So at any rate, once you have the resources that you need to do your next job and you want to open up your coffers and explore other maps, you just go ahead and go to the location that's listed on the map. In this particular case, this is the nation of Balabator. It's a wood elf country. So there's a location on the map. A lot of people don't like using the treasure maps because they're not easy to decipher. It's part of the puzzle of the game. But to be honest with you, the game's been out for so long that if you get frustrated, there are lots of YouTube tutorials that are out there that you can actually look up and kind of use someone else's advice to get it. As I mentioned before, resources highlight for me. Now you notice that when I click on a resource, it only takes a few seconds for it to actually open up for me as opposed to hacking away at it several times. And the reason that is because crafting is such a big deal of the game that it actually plays a part in the champion point system. So you open up the champion point tree, and maybe one day I'll make a video about how this whole thing works, but you'll see there's different nodes that you can spend your points on. In this particular case, the master gatherer is the champion point system that allows you to quickly open up resource nodes faster than other players who don't have that. You simply spend the points in your champion point line and you get that ability to move through resources faster. Saves you a lot of time when you're out in the wild just gathering stuff all day. So as you saw, found the location on the map, checked it out, start picking up supplies, and that's the gist of gathering resources. As you're out in the wild, just go ahead and, if you're a crafter or just like to gather resources, pick up everything you see. And that being said, if you have ESO Plus, you'll also get a craft bag, which means you have unlimited space for crafting materials. Definitely comes in handy if you're a crafter. I highly recommend it. It's something that makes a difference in your gameplay when your space is, on short supply. Having that craft bag, taking your crafting materials out of your backpack and put it into your craft bag makes a world of difference. So we've talked about supplies, we've talked about refining, the point to making your character having materials to do other jobs with, all about refining. So after you gather resources, you want to go out and refine everything that you picked up, have that available. Some people like to sell the unrefined materials to other players. They can make a fortune in that because there are actually achievements that you can get from refining a certain number of materials. So some people are on a fast track to get that done. But yeah, refine the materials, get into making your next job, and that's basic crafting. Now I'll talk about the advanced crafting. The reason I'm refining all this stuff is because when you start to do the advanced crafting, or as they call them, the master writs, the master writs are jobs that pay writ vouchers, which takes your crafting to the next level. When you're doing master writs, you're doing much like the craft board where you pull a job down and you go do it. You can do, one job per area per day. But when you're doing master writs, you can do as many as you like. There are no limit to the number of master writs that you can do, and they pay writ vouchers. So right now I'm just showing off some of the crafting material or crafting components that I can actually create. And this is the kind of stuff that you can make for yourself or other players and actually make money in a merchant system. So all these high-level recipes, a lot of players don't have. So if you have the recipe, you can make the component, make the dish or whatever, either furniture items or food items or high-level potions. You can make these things for other players and actually make money selling items to other players in the game. The way that you do that is by having access to either players who have auctions, joining a guild that actually has a guild trader, or joining a guild that actually has the guild merchant unlocked, which you bid on it week after week, and then you can make items, sell them. Some of these items, as you can see, a gold quality, the Bloody Mara, for example, high demand item. It's not something that everyone can get their hands on because some of the materials are only sent to you through high-level skill use of the crafting skill line to have these items mailed to you. Other than that, I can talk to you about the master writs and give you an example of how that plays out. So let's go take a look at that real quick. I'll make my pickled fish real fast. So we're going to talk to you about the master writs. I usually keep a bunch of master writs in my bank, so when I'm ready to go do them. So you can scroll through here, you pick one that you want to do. They come in different degrees of difficulty: blue, purple, gold. So you pick one, go and just basically satisfy the job itself. So once you satisfy the job itself, then you can look and say, all right, in this particular case, I'm making a ring. So I go basically pull the job up, read the description. It's listed there exactly what you have to make. Then it tells you the reward. In this particular case, this one is 28 writ vouchers. What that means is basically it's a type of currency. Writ vouchers are a type of currency where you can buy things that most players can't buy unless they're doing master writs. If you're not doing master writs and you want to buy the components that are sold through writ vouchers, you can easily pay about 50,000 gold for some of the things that are created by writ vouchers. So is it worth it? It depends on your play style and how often you plan on playing. But in this particular case, I always find it worth it because all the supplies that I use for the guild come from the master writ vouchers side of the game. So you improve. Improving is another part of crafting. It's not enough to just to make some items. Some items have to come out at a certain level of quality. As you can see, I don't have enough material to actually do this ring, so I have to go back, as I mentioned, go in and start refining the grains to actually get the quality of material that I need to complete this job. All master writs are higher quality jobs, so you're always going to do those. Going to have to refine a lot of material. So it's a huge circle, supply and demand. You need something, other players have it. You have something, other players need it, and you just go from there. So complete this job. As you can see, you have to refine the material, improve the quality of the job. Once the material has been spent, you have a % chance of actually succeeding. If you use less than the material that's required, the % of success diminishes. So you want to make sure you have 100% on any job, otherwise it's a gamble that you'll lose the whole thing. Once the job is complete, you then go ahead and travel to where you turn in the job at. Much like most major cities have a place you can turn it in, the capital city is where you turn in the master writs. So you have to make sure you travel to the capital. So that being said, go ahead and travel to the capital, click on the actual writ itself, select the job. Once you have selected the job and you have the material to turn it in, you get a quest mark above the delivery person's head. You simply walk over, and what I do is, like I said, I double check to make sure I have an experience scroll running, and then I just turn in the job. Something that you don't want to forget: if you have experience scrolls, use them when you're turning in the job, so that way you can maximize the amount of experience you get from each one of those things. And the reward is the master writs. You now have, in this particular case, I have 28 writ vouchers to purchase whatever I want. I looked through the list of materials that they have available, the list of items that you could purchase, and you pick what you want. I was trying to decide whether I didn't want something from his list, so there was another vendor here. Yeah. Click on this vendor, go to the store, and you can sort through the items that you want here. Now, the downside of making these purchases is the reward that you get is random. So there's a chance you'll get something you already have, in which case you can give it away or sell it to another player. If you get a recipe or a component or a blueprint that you already have, you can always sell the stuff. So I'll select something from elsewhere, I believe. Yeah, I'll select something from elsewhere. I happen to be Khajiit. I like elsewhere stuff. So once I have that, see the experience I got out of that. So I got the experience from turning in the job, not from buying the actual ingredient. Find the new blueprint in my inventory. Open the letter. Get the actual blueprint out of there, out of the reward. And there you have it. Use to learn this item. There you go. That's pretty much crafting to the master writ side of the game. So from there, you basically get back to your regular play. There are people who have characters completely dedicated to crafting, which is totally fine. I just craft whenever I feel like it. It's one of those things that I do on the side for a little extra cash or writ vouchers. I get extra, anything I have left over from each of those jobs I put into the bank. As you can see, I could put, my extra writ vouchers in the bank, and let me just click that and put that in there, and I have over 610 as of this video, 610 writ vouchers in the bank. So whenever I feel like spending them, I save them up just in case someone in the guild needs something in the guild hall. Then I go ahead and add it to the guild hall, which is one of the benefits of being in a guild, is that you don't have to do all this stuff by yourself if you don't want to. You can rely on your guild members to help you out getting things, and they turn things into me all the time. So it's a good symbiotic relationship being in the guild. So at any rate, that's pretty much the gist of the master writ side of the crafting. So I covered refining. I've covered the board itself, the different jobs, crafting, gathering resources, using your champion points to actually figure out which resources you can usually spot from a distance or how well you can pick them up. Or, I'm sorry, the skills identify how well you can spot them in the distance. Your champion points, how fast you can pick them up. And that is the only thing I can think of. So it's a rather long video. I apologize. I hope I didn't drag it on too long. Follow us, check us out later, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.